you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess if you guys are new here, and I'm super excited today because I feel like I haven't done like a true reading vlog in a little while. Super excited for that. I'm actually reading 2 books at the same time right now, and I intended to be finished with these books already, but I think just like reading 2 of them slowed me down a little bit, and obviously just work in general. Because I work, obviously I can't read nearly as much as I personally would love to be able to read. So the 2 books that I'm currently reading are The Great Alone and We Used to Live Here. They're such different vibes. This one is a little bit more of like a thriller, spooky type. Hi. Okay. We Used to Live Here is a little bit more of like a spooky type thriller vibe. Honestly, I'm glad that I'm reading these at the same time because I don't think I could read that at night at all. Like I tried a couple of times and it freaked me out enough that I had to actually put it down. So I'm also reading The Great Alone, which has been on my TBR, I think since maybe November or December. I don't know what was stopping me from reading it. Like I knew that I was going to enjoy it, but sometimes Kristen Hanna books, they are very emotional, so they take a lot out of me, and also they typically are a little bit longer. So, you know, it's not that much longer than any other book, but an extra 100 pages is an extra 100 pages. That's like a couple hours of reading. My goal this weekend is to finish these books as quickly as possible because, again, these were technically part of my February reads, and today's technically March 1st. So long as I read these by end of this weekend, then I think I'm going to continue to consider them as like February reads because I primarily read them in February. I'm like so close to being done. I think I have like an hour left of this book, and then this one I am probably about 50% of the way through. So I'll be able to get through these this weekend, and then we will also come up with the TBR and start reading whatever we're gonna start reading in March. I have quite a few books that I've been like eyeing for a while, or like as I've been making my TBRs, I've been trying to stick to them as much as possible, but then sometimes I'll shift them. So I just want to make sure that I am trying to stick to them as much as possible because that's the point of making them. So just wanted to start the vlog here, say hi, and let's get into some reading this weekend. So I just got showered and I didn't fully get ready. I actually just changed into like comfy clothes, but we're supposed to be heading out soon for just like the day because we wanted to like go do something for the day, but Ryan is taking a quick nap. So I figured now is a perfect time to start reading. And I wanted to quickly tell you guys a little bit more about this book, We Used to Live Here. So I'm gonna read the book description really fast just to give you guys a better understanding of like what this book even is about. As a young queer couple who flips houses, Charlie and Eve can't believe the killer deal that they've just gotten on an old house in a picturesque neighborhood. As they're working in the house one day, there's a knock on the door. A man stands there with his family, claiming to have lived there years before and asking if it would be all right if he showed his kids around. People pleaser to a fault, Eve lets him in. As soon as the strangers enter their home, inexplicable things start happening, including the family's youngest child going missing and a ghostly presence materializing in the basement. Even more weird, the family can't seem to take the hint that their visit should be over, and when Charlie suddenly vanishes, Eve slowly loses her grip on reality. Something is terribly wrong with the house and with the visiting family, or is it Eve just imagining things? The cool thing about this book is, from what I understand, it was originally posted like chapter by chapter on Reddit, and people were just kind of like giving feedback or like making guesses as to what was happening in the book, and eventually the author decided to actually publish the book, and I think now it's going to be on Netflix, which is also really cool. So I don't know who's starring in it or like when it's even going into production or if it's already in production or like anything about it, but seems interesting. I think that the synopsis does a really good job of explaining what the story is, because sometimes synopses in books are like the blurbs. I'm just like, what am I going to be reading? But this one is actually like pretty accurate. So currently I think we're finding out, again, I'm like, I think I have like 3 or 4 chapters left of the book. We're finding out about what is actually causing all of the weird stuff happening. And it's interesting because, like, again, this book is scary enough where like every little detail of this main character, Eve, kind of like, I don't want to say going crazy, but like that's kind of what's happening. It's like every time she sees like a door cracked or looks down into a basement, she gets like the heebie-jeebies, which I think we can all at some point in our lives relate to. I know there's some people who like just don't have those feelings, but like I know for myself personally, it freaks me out if I see like the door cracked open a little too much, or like I can't go in the garage at night because I'm just like, what if there's something in there? What if someone's in there? Like, it just freaks me out. So it plays on a lot of of those emotions that like you just inherently have as a human. But it does a really good job too of like adding in this like mix of, I don't want to quite say supernatural because it's not supernatural, but like something is happening, and there's like these other like little mixed in pieces of like snippets of maybe interviews or like police footage or like, I don't know, Reddit posts, things like that too. So it is fun. I don't know if those snippets are doing enough for me personally. Like I feel like I could have done without them, but I do like when people add in like mixed media into a book and like try to make it something more than just the chapters, I guess. But yeah, we're at the point where we're, I think, finding out about like what the actual cause of this is, or like what's actually happening, which is very exciting. So I'm gonna keep reading for a little bit and discover some more, and then I will get back to The Great Alone, which I've been dying to get back to. Like I can't explain to you guys how much I've been enjoying this book. It's all about a family who moves to Alaska, and it's their story of like the process of moving to Alaska and like learning all about how to survive, because they're not just in Alaska, they're in like a very remote town where there's not really any stores or anything like that, and they're basically creating their own homestead. And on top of it, the father of this family is a prisoner of war from the Vietnam War, and darkness is not his best friend. Let's just put it at that. Very, very interesting, very emotional, like I've mentioned that Kristen Hanna typically is, but I've been loving it so far. So I'm excited to get back to that. I don't know how much time I have left on that one in terms of like reading time. I'd have to check on my Kindle because I also have it on my Kindle. Usually if I get a physical copy of a book, I try to align it with when those books are also available on the Libby app for my Kindle, because I like to read physical books every now and then, like depending on the book. For some reason I just like get the vibe that I want to read it physically, but then when I go to bed I want to obviously be able to read in bed, and that's where the Kindle comes in. And so I will kind of skip around on the Kindle based off of like where I'm at in the book, and then it's also nice to just be able to pop my Kindle in my purse and go. Anyway, let's get back to this. I want to finish this. Maybe I can finish it before we head out for the day. I don't know if that's a possibility, but we'll see what we can do. If not, I'll finish it when we get back. Okay, change of plans. Ryan woke up from his nap and we were both like, it's already 1:30 and we don't really feel like going to the museum now, because at this point it's only open until 5. So it kind of feels like we've missed out on the opportunity. We could absolutely do it, but I think we're just both being lazy. So I'm gonna keep reading and he's gonna do his thing. I think he's gonna come in here, hang out with me, play Legos, or play Legos, do Legos. He has this like, you can see it here. It's like this Lego kit that's the Great Wave, so we'll be able to like actually put it up somewhere. And every now and then he just works on it. So he's gonna do that and I'm gonna read, and I'm almost done. I'm like very, very close to this, but the ending is so far very interesting. I'm intrigued to see how it actually ends, because obviously I still have like another 2 chapters left, but the last 2 chapters are quite long. I don't know, like part of me is like, this is a 5-star because I have been like so scared to read it at night, and for a book to actually make me feel that way, it deserves a 5-star. But then the other half of me is like, kind of the ending is losing me a little bit, so I don't know if it's a 4 or 5-star, but we'll have to see how it ends, and then I think that's going to be the determining factor. Okay, I officially finished We Used to Live Here. I gave it 4 stars. I'm kind of thinking on that rating a little bit more, but I think I'm gonna stick with 4 stars. I feel like the book itself was so good, but every time I wanted to think about giving it 5 stars, it just like didn't feel right. I feel like, again, like it made me so scared, and for that reason I wanted to give it 5 stars, but I don't think that justifies it like in itself, mostly because I was still left with some unanswered questions, and I almost wish that I had like a little bit more information, or like a few loose ends were tied up. That's just like, it's not something that was possible with this book, obviously. But I don't know if this was this author's debut novel or like what the full story is, but I'm going to head back into The Great Alone. I'm currently on the 2nd part, which is chapter 12, and I think there's 3 parts of this book, so we're skipping ahead basically by 4 years. And let me just show you guys, I think this part is really cool in this book. Kristen Hanna does this in a few of her other books, but basically like in each of the sections there'll be like these images that I think are really cool. The same thing is at the there we go, at the very beginning. So this is like the VW bus that the family drives in the book. I just find it to be really like cool and unique, and I don't know, I love like the pictures because it's just fun to visualize a little bit more of like what the family is actually doing. So I'm gonna dive in and see how much we can get read. I checked on my Kindle and it said I have like 8 hours left of the book, so I don't think we're gonna go through the full 8 hours, although I would love to be able to do that. But we're gonna read as much as we possibly can. Our plans have completely changed for the day, so I don't think we're really gonna do too much. Ryan finished most of his Lego set, so we watched Inside Out while he did that, and then I read and I had my headphones on so that I could like actually pay attention while he was watching the movie. But I'm gonna see how much I can read, and I think we're just gonna kind of hang around the house for the rest of the day, so that will give me lots and lots of reading time. Okay, first of all, I said earlier that I think I was at 50%. I think I was closer to 40%, but I'm almost at the 50% mark. I'm currently on chapter 13 of this book, but something that I am realizing about this book is it's so sad because this whole book is told from the perspective of Lenny. Her real name is Lenora, but she goes by Lenny, and she is the daughter. Basically, like, this family is the main set of characters, but there's like a bunch of main characters throughout this book. But anyway, point is, Lenny is the person who's actually telling the story. Her dad is the person who was like the prisoner of war and who was in Vietnam War and then obviously came back, and ultimately is the one who decided that they should all move to Alaska. And it's so interesting because you're seeing this toxic household, for lack of a better word, having Lenny navigate this life that she has to live and like understanding what it's like to navigate this type of household. And it's scary and confusing. She's trying to make everything better, and she loves her dad, but also she's scared of her dad, and I don't know, there's just like so many different things, and it's very real. Like, this is a very emotional book, but I enjoy the fact that it's told by Lenny because I think that it makes it that much more powerful in comparison to being told from, like, let's say the mom's perspective and trying to understand her love for her husband. It's like being from a child's perspective and understanding the love that your parents have for each other and still wanting better or more, and also trying to come to terms with the love that you have for your parents, but also not necessarily liking your parents even though you love your parents. You know what I mean? Like, that's a very complicated dynamic to be a part of, and it just makes it more complicated that it's literally told from her perspective. So I'm loving it. I always feel kind of weird saying that I love these books because they're very sad and very emotional, but I just love the storytelling. I love all of the details. I love the scenery that Kristen Hanna paints in these novels. Like, they're just so, like, you're there with the main character, which I think is so cool. So I'm really liking this book. Just like more things are happening, and I have thoughts on like what I want to happen or things that I want for our main character. Anyway, I'm gonna continue reading. I think I'll still get through a good chunk of this book today because I am still very awake, and it is 7:30, so we have tons of time, which I'm happy about because I want to try to read as much of this as possible. I can't imagine not finishing this by tomorrow. So yeah, I will try my best to finish tonight, but more than likely this book will be finished tomorrow, and then we'll move on to the next one. But for now, I'm in love with it. Like, I really recommend, if you guys haven't read Kristen Hanna, or if you're looking to read a new Kristen Hanna, this is a really good one. Definitely check trigger warnings, but I think that goes for any Kristen Hanna novel just because there are a lot of like really deep topics in a lot of these books, but very good, very deep. I think that's a good word to describe her books. Good morning, you guys. Today's Sunday. I'm currently reading The Great Alone. I didn't get nearly as much done yesterday in terms of reading as much as I wanted to, but I got a decent amount done. I am 56% of the way through. Some things are happening and progressing, and it's so complicated because it's like I want them to progress the way that they are, and like being, you know, in my 30s now and watching her, I think she's at this point age 17, close to 18. This is how I feel about like whenever I talk to any family members that are younger or like going through, I don't know, like making the college decision or any of that kind of stuff. It's like I kind of want to just tell them what the right decision is, but the reality is that it's their life, right? So it's like there's no right decision, first of all, but it's like from an adult perspective, what I wish I would have done or what they maybe should do in terms of like what the right choice is and and all of that. And I kind of feel the same with this main character. It's like I want to tell her like, no, do this thing, but it's so hard because she has such a complicated family life that it's just truly not that simple for her, and the people around her don't fully understand because she's not telling anyone why she can't do the things that everyone else can or should or want to do. So yeah, it's very emotional, truly, but I'm loving it. So I'm gonna keep reading this morning, and then I'm gonna get ready and we're gonna head off to a museum, and then when we get home I'm sure we'll do a little bit more reading. But there's a helicopter. I'm gonna get ready in like 30 minutes, so I'm only gonna read for about 30, but let's see how much we can read in that time. Hello you guys, it is 2:15 already. I can't believe that the time has gone so fast. I am now at home and I'm going to head into the living room. Ryan is doing some laundry, so the dryer is going. So I ran into the room really fast just to update you guys, but we went to the Natural History Museum this morning, which was really fun, and I haven't been maybe since I was a kid. I can't really fully remember because we used to just try to go to all the different museums when I was little, but it was really fun and I just didn't realize how big the museum was either. But now we're back and I think I'm gonna spend a majority of the rest of today reading. I do want to try to finish The Great Alone today, and then on top of it I also got The Winners, which is the second in the series, the Beartown series, and that one just came available on my Libby app. So I'm super excited because I've been wanting to read the rest of that series. I'm still waiting for, wait, did I say The Winners? I meant Us Against You. That's the second one. The Winners is the third one. So I'm still waiting for The Winners, but Us Against You I now have. And I have a few other books in my bookshelf over here that I've been wanting to read. So I think I'm going to kind of come up with a rough TBR for the month, which I have already told you guys about in my TBR video, but I personally don't know it, but you guys already know it while you're watching this. Obviously, Us Against You is going to be one of them, but let's go finish The Great Alone. I want to get into some comfy clothes because I'm currently still wearing jeans, and then we'll read as much as we possibly can. I think I want to say I have like 4 or 5 hours left of the book, so I'm definitely gonna have to hunker down and read, but I think it'll be really fun and I'm loving the book. I'm in this like mood right now with the book where I'm a little bit scared to continue reading because I don't want something bad to happen to my main character. Like I already know something's gonna happen and I just don't want it to, and so I'm like kind of avoiding reading because right now it's like she's not in like the best case scenario, but she's also not in like the worst case scenario, and she has a lot to look forward to, and so like the anticipation is like, oh, her life is gonna get better, and I'm really scared that it's gonna get worse. So yeah, I think I'm partially putting it off, but let's just go and read. We'll see what happens, and I hope that it's what I want it to be. We shall see. I really thought that something so bad was about to happen in this book. Oh my god, that was like the most intense 3 pages of this entire book that I've read. Well, not really, but like it felt that way. Like the anticipation was there. My heart is like actually racing. This book truly, like, I can't put it down. I could read this book for hours, which is not usually how I feel about many books. Like usually I can read a few chapters and then I want to take a break, and then I'll read a few chapters and then take a break, but this book is like I could read for hours. I'm gonna go take pee on his WALK, but I am on now chapter 23. I probably have about 3 hours left. I have this much left of the book, which, where did I start this? Didn't I say that I started at like 30 something percent, like almost 40%? This is only my 3rd Kristen Hanna book that I've read, and there's always something chaotic that happens, or like heartbreaking, or you know, something like that always happens. And I thought that we were gonna go in a certain direction and we went a completely different direction, which I'm kind of liking because I think it would have been too obvious, but like in some way the thing that happened is in direct response to the thing that I thought was gonna happen. It just didn't happen in the way that I thought it did, or that I was going to. Does that make sense? Like I thought one thing was gonna happen and it happened a different way, but it's still a direct response of the thing that I thought, just not as predictable. Hopefully that makes sense. If you guys have read it, you know what I'm talking about. I think I'm crossing my fingers. Like I am holding out hope because because that is like the one thing that I know about Kristen Hanna books is like I can hold out hope and cross my fingers that something will happen there. So it's been a heavy reading day. I mean, like in a good way. I'm obsessed with this book. But we're gonna take a quick pause. I need to take him on his walk. Do you want to go on a walk? Do you want to go on a walk? Okay, I'm gonna go take him on a walk, take my pause, and then we'll come back and finish the book. Oh man. Oh my gosh. Whew. Holy shit. Book is so hard to read. I'm so close to the end of this book, but it's so rough. Whew. Okay. Let's finish it. Good morning, you guys. Today's Monday and we're continuing the reading vlog. I finished The Great Alone last night and oh my god. I didn't really have the words to describe all of the feelings and thoughts that I had, and yeah, so here we are this morning just talking a little bit more about it. That book was so insanely good. Like I already knew it was going to be 5-star, but the thing is that something about Kristen Hanna is like she'll kind of bring the reality back into the story. Like you can't just do XYZ thing because there are consequences, and I appreciate that, but she also allows you to have a little bit of hope, which I do also appreciate, which shows that it is actually a story. So basically I guess I'm saying like she has the reality of the situation to a degree, and I like that for the most part it's the reality of the situation, and then there's that, again, that little tiny teensy bit of hope. It just like changes everything. So anyway, it was fantastic. The ending really got to me. I think it was like 1 or 2 chapters before the ending got to me more than like the ending, because of just like the relationship that she had with her mom and everything that her mom ended up going through. Anyway, loved it. Highly recommend. I mean, truly, I loved that book. I loved The Nightingale, but this one was so much more relatable because it's like closer to our timeline, and also just, I don't know, just so many things. It was easier to relate to these characters for me than it was, like I felt like I could be in our main character's family in comparison to in The Nightingale. I felt like I was reading a historical novel about 2 sisters, which is still great. Like it's still a 5-star, and I think about it like every other day. So just in general, I love her writing. Yeah, and I'm excited to dive into more of her books. So anyway, we're gonna start the day. I am gonna make some coffee and start work, and then I think like around work, so like maybe lunch break, and then obviously after work I'm going to read. I tried reading a little bit this morning, but I was kind of tired, so I started Us Against You, which is the second in the Beartown series. I kind of wanted to like get through that series, and it just became available to me on the Libby app. There's another book that became available to me and I wanted to read that too, so I don't know, I'm just kind of like feeling out what I want to read. I feel like I was thinking about a different book. Well, there's 2 actually. I forget what they're both called, but I think one's Just Last Night and one is Between Us, both by Vari McFarlane. I have not read any of her books, but I've heard great things, and I was thinking about reading those because I was thinking maybe it would be nice to have like a little bit of a lighter romance to break up these intense books, but we'll see. I don't really know what I'm in the mood. Maybe I'll do another thing where I like read multiple books at once, because that was actually very successful. So for now though, let's make coffee and then we will get into some more reading around lunchtime. Okay, it's my lunch break time. It's actually a little after, so I am now officially coming outside so I can enjoy some sunshine. Yesterday it just like randomly started raining super heavily, like for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then it stopped. But we are supposed to get some rain on Wednesday and Thursday, I think. Just so nice because that is like perfect reading weather. But for today, we're just enjoying outside. Pete loves the sunshine. And I think I'm going to continue my book. I just started Us Against You by Frederick Bachman. And like I was saying before, this is the second in the Beartown series. I didn't really get very far this morning. I think I'm technically on chapter 3, but that's like, I don't know, a few pages in, I think. Yeah, I'm on page 12. So I'm already on chapter 3 though. Beauty of small chapters. I'm just going to enjoy it out here, just take an hour to myself, sit here with P and read. I failed so deeply today. I read kind of Nothing. I'm officially on chapter 4. Also, it's a lot later if that was not obvious, but it is 9 o'clock p.m. The last time I checked in with you guys was around my lunch break, and I read for a little bit and then I got distracted, and then I got off work, and then I was gonna start reading and then I got distracted, and it's 9 p.m. So I think what I'm gonna do is get ready for bed and go read in bed. Hopefully I don't know why, I like feel unmotivated. Anyway, P is searching for something. I don't really know what's in there. I looked and there was nothing, so not sure what he's on about, but I think I'm gonna go like wash my face, brush my teeth, get ready for bed, and then let's go read Us Against You in bed, and I will check in with you guys in the morning to see how far I got tonight / in the morning. Today was kind of a fail for a reading day, but we'll get back to it tomorrow. Good morning, you guys. Today is Sunday and I am finally just sitting down and reading. I had not checked in with you guys regarding reading in a second because this week it just kind of got away from me. P threw a ball at me. This week just kind of got away from me and I just haven't read nearly as much as I wanted to. But today's Sunday and we have no plans today. The only plan really is that we're going to do some reading. So I'm currently reading Us Against You by Frederick Bachman. I am like 30% of the way in. I'm gonna just try to read as much as possible today. I picked up Dune a couple of days ago. It's something that's just been like intimidating to me for like basically since I bought the book for years, and I've just had it on my shelf for a long time, and I finally, actually let me go show you guys what I did in the bedroom. So I have this shelf and this shelf, ignore the cord coming out of it, and between these two shelves, I know I randomly have a Bible. This is actually from my first communion, even though I'm not religious. My grandpa was, so I did all of the religious stuff. But anyway, I took all of the books off of these two shelves that I hadn't read yet. I think this is like a really good like visual of what I have not read yet, because I was getting kind of confused. I mean, like I knew I hadn't read these, but like it's different when you see it. I was also fairly surprised. Most of these books actually I did not buy myself. Like they were either gifts or I've just had them for so long. Others I got from little free libraries while I was like giving back any of the books that I got. I kind of stacked them in no particular order. Like obviously this one I bought recently and is on my TBR for this month, so I'll probably be reading this one soon. But like this one I've probably had on my shelf for 10 years. This one I've had on my shelf for a long time, probably close to 10 years. This one too, like I've had this on my shelf for longer than that for sure. I actually was almost gonna start reading Red Dragon, but I paused because I just wasn't in the mood for it, and I know I'm gonna enjoy it once I'm actually into it. It was also funny because when I was doing this, I was talking to Ryan and I was like, I've had these books on my shelf for so long that like your normal paperback book these days, I think the cheapest I've seen is maybe $9.99, but usually it's closer to like $12.99, $17.99, like that kind of thing. This book was $7. This book was $9.99, which again is like, I feel like that's harder to find unless you're on like Amazon, but like Barnes & Noble brand new, these would not be this cheap these days. $6. I mean, point is, I want to get to all of these at some point, and I know this one is going to be my like priority one, but Dune has been on this list for a very long time and I just have been like so intimidated to read it, and I think now's the time, finally. Like we're getting to it. So I am doing the thing where I'm reading a couple of pages per day. So basically if I read 25 pages per day, then I will finish by the end of the month. I think what I'm also going to do is once I get through this, because this is quite a intimidating pile to have, like knowing in the back of my head that these are all the books that I have not read that are on my shelf. I have more in my garage. I have like a bin. I've talked to you guys about this before in a different vlog. I have a bin of books that most of them I have read, but there's quite a few in there that I have not read, or again were like gifts, or I would just like pick up books from Barnes & Noble and just never read them, and I don't really know why. Like the thought was there and the intent was there, and then I'd read like 2 chapters, but I just like wasn't as into reading before as I am now. So I think that's part of the reason why. Basically what I'm thinking is when I'm done with these books, I will go to the garage and get those books out out and sort of redo this and like put more books on here that I haven't read, which would be cool. I also want to reread some books. Like, I don't really remember anything about the first book of Game of Thrones, and I never finished the series, and I think it would be fun to restart it. I just like vividly remember the time in my life when I read this series, and I was working while I was in school, but it was specifically summertime, and so I didn't have school, and I would work Monday through Wednesday or Thursday. It had to be Thursday, so I would have like a 3-day weekend every week, and I was a manager at Jamba Juice. Like, I wasn't doing anything that exciting, but because I always knew that I had a 3-day weekend, I would go and camp and surf for those 3 days, just like by myself sometimes with friends. And I was reading the Game of Thrones series that summer, and it was just so enjoyable. Every time I pick up those books, I want to go camping. It's so funny. Anyway, so that's the plan. And then second part of that plan is that I want to take off some of the books that either were like Tomorrow and Tomorrow, for example, was a book that I got from a Little Free Library. There's a few others that I still have from Little Free Libraries that I want to give back, or maybe a few that I just like don't feel strongly about keeping that I'm cool with giving to a Little Free Library. So I actually, maybe I'll pull some of those right now. Okay, I had way fewer than I thought I was gonna have. These are the ones that I need to give back to Little Free Libraries. I think it's because I have 3 here that are also from Little Free No, wait, 1, 2... Yeah, 3 from Little Free Libraries. Next time I go on a walk with Pete, I will give these to a nearby Little Free Library because I think that will be good for someone else to enjoy these. I didn't take off any that I feel like there's a few I could do without. Like, I don't remember what I rated this book, but I probably, if I was rating it today, just thinking back on it, it'd probably be a 2-star. It was like the beginning had me, and then it was just. But this was one of those blind date with the books that I got from Barnes & Noble, and this is what I mean. This one was $16. Anyway, I'm going to, let's see, I'll put these all over in that area so that I don't forget to take them next time I go on a walk. I think I'm gonna go in the living room and read for a little bit, have some coffee, just kind of like chill this morning, and then maybe we'll do a workout, and then we'll just continue to read. Like, I think those are truly the only plans that I have for the day, which is a really nice feeling. I can't remember how much I talked to you guys about the Beartown series already, but now that I'm 30% of the way through this book, I feel like I can talk a little bit more about what it even is about, because basically the first book is about this town called Beartown, and they are a hockey town through and through. Like, hockey is literally everything. Based off of if the team wins, it like changes whether or not like politically things are going to happen, or if they're gonna get a new mall, or if there's going to be any updates in the town, because literally all they have to offer is hockey. And so they need to have a winning team in order to be able to succeed as a town, basically. And something really big happens with these teenagers that are playing these games. Like, basically there's like I don't know, like a young team. I don't remember what it's called, but like really younger kids. And then there's like the junior team, and then there's the A team. So we're kind of focused in on the junior team in that first book. And yeah, something crazy happens, and it just throws a wrench in all of the city's plans, like completely changes the trajectory of like the future of this town. This one is sort of like the follow-up to that. At first I actually forgot that there was like sort of an epilogue in Beartown where it talks about like what the future of the characters is going to look like one person's going to be famous or whatever. And this one also alludes to that, so I don't think that it was that distracting that we had an epilogue and then just to have like another book follow it and a third as well. I don't know like if that was always the plan or like what, but also just to put out there, Beartown was the first Frederick Bachman book that I've ever read, but everybody on Goodreads had said like this is so different than any of his other work. And now that I've also read Anxious People, I do feel like I see what they mean. Like, his writing style is still very much the same in these books, but just like different topics, heavier, so not as like whimsical and funny, which seems to be his style in his other books. I obviously have only read the 2 and this is my 3rd, so I'm still learning a little bit more about his writing style, but these ones are definitely like heavier topics and things like that. As Against You is basically the sequel to this, and so far we're just understanding how the town is taking sides based off of what happened to these teenagers and how they're handling the repercussions of the event. And I'm just gonna call it the event because I don't know what else to call it without spoiling it. It's interesting to see the sides that they take. in like what they choose to do with everything. That's sort of where we're at. The first 30% feels a little bit like setup, but also these books are very much like slice of life almost, where I'm just kind of living amongst my characters and like learning about their day-to-day and understanding what their choices are and why, and you get in every single character's head, which is kind of nice, so you actually understand why they're making the choices that they're making. So that's always really fun. So that's what we're doing, that's what we're reading. Yeah, I'm gonna continue to read. I think that something about this book that I like and don't like at the exact same time is that within each chapter, the chapters are like decently short, but within each chapter you also have breaks where that's where it changes perspective, and there are just enough breaks that I find that to be a good spot to pause, and so then I end up pausing and doing something else, like filling my coffee cup or checking my phone or saying hi to Pete. I don't know, like I'll just do something dumb. It takes me longer to read the book because I'm taking more pauses, because I'm like usually not taking a pause until I'm at like a chapter break, I guess, for like most books. So that's that. I'm also going to pick up Dune at some point today because I want to read my 25 pages. I'm currently on page 52 because I've read 2 days now. I didn't realize that this book was like 600-ish pages because it doesn't look like a 600-page novel. It looks a lot thinner. Like it looks like maybe a 400 or 500-page book, but I didn't realize how thin the pages were. I feel like I've already learned so much in the first 4 chapters, so that's exciting. So I'm gonna keep reading this too, but this is going to be later. For now, I'm gonna be focusing on this one, and I have roughly 9 hours or so left to read this book and like finish it. So I don't know if we'll finish it in this vlog, but we'll do our best and read as much as we can. At some point we'll finish it, you know, like we're reading 2 books too, so it is what it is. I actually just ended up going on a run. I had a lovely time reading outside, and then it was so nice out that I was like, this is actually kind of the perfect timing to go on a run. Usually on Sundays I do a run with my friends, but I just haven't done them in the last 2 weeks yet. Last week, I almost said yesterday. Last week we went to a museum together, Ryan and I, and so I just like didn't really, I don't know, I just like felt like I wanted to have that time. And then today it's daylight savings, so I lost an hour. And then last night I went to a foosball tournament, which was so fun, but I went with some friends and we didn't get home until maybe like 10:30 p.m., which I know is still like fairly early, but with also losing an hour of sleep, I don't think I went to bed until 11 p.m., which is basically midnight. And so then to be at the running place by 8 a.m., it just felt like a lot. And on top of it, I had woken up on Saturday at like 6 a.m. It was just like a whole thing. Like I had to go to Orange County, blah, blah, blah. So like 2 days in a row of like waking up early on the weekends. It's kind of hard because then every other day of the week, I also wake up early. So I kind of just wanted some time to myself this morning. So I relaxed this morning. It was so lovely. Had a chance to actually wake up. Then I went on my run and I actually listened to, I don't know where my phone is. There it is. Ministry of Time. Been meaning to read this book for a little while now, and I got to track 7, which I think is like chapter 3 or so. The chapters are pretty long, but it's good so far. I'm liking it. So if you guys have Spotify Premium, it is on Spotify for premium members, and it's only 10 hours total of reading. So I'm 2 hours in. So I'm pausing on reading that though. That's more of like I always have like a book that I listen to while I like am doing chores or like working out, something like that. And then I have a book that's like my main book, which right now is obviously Us Against You. This is upside down. Us Against You. And then sometimes I'll have a book like Dune that I'm like, I've been meaning to get to this, but I know that I'm gonna have to take it like bit by bit. So I'm gonna take some more time with it. I'm going to relax a little bit. I think the run was really nice. I did 5 miles, but I'm a little tired. So I want to continue to read Us Against You, but I think I'm gonna pause on that and I'm gonna watch some YouTube. I have a few videos that I want to catch up on. When I'm done with that and like properly rested, then I will get back to reading. So I'll check in with you guys when I go back into reading. Okay, it's a bit later now. I actually took a nap and I feel so rested. Also, it's almost 5 p.m. I always forget how much I'm obsessed with daylight savings time because it feels so nice to feel so awake and not feel like I have no time left in my day. And I know that when I'm working, I'm going to love having all the sunshine. Although we are supposed to get some rain soon, but that's okay. Like, I'm just excited that we have sun. So I'm going to pick up Us Against You again. I was watching some YouTube videos and just like, again, took a nap, and I like really needed that. And now I'm feeling in the mood to read. So I want to read a little bit of this, and then I will pick up some Dune because I still have to read my 25 pages. I've been like into this book, and I'm like, every time I put it down, I'm like actually kind of excited to pick it back up. So that's a really good feeling. And I was intending to read a lot more of Us Against You today, but I'm just trying to like not pressure myself. I'm also reading like 3 different books, so I think I'm just having fun with it at this point. Like I feel sometimes like I have to keep up with like a certain pacing of like what I'm reading and how quickly I'm reading books, but like also it's a hobby, and like it's okay to read a little bit slower so long as I'm enjoying the book. So I want to make sure I'm like keeping that in mind and like actually enjoying it. Let's get to it and let's see what is happening next in Us Against You. I'm currently like 40% of the way through, and I'm really liking it. I think some things are picking up. There's this one politician that has a lot to do with, like, he has his hands in everything, I guess is really what I'm trying to say, and it's very interesting. Okay, first of all, I'm reading on my iPad because I realized that my Kindle was about to die. So not like the best reading experience in comparison to the Kindle, but it's actually not bad. Like, I just put on the warm light and it's not terrible. But I just read the end of chapter 19, so I'm on chapter 20 now, and some drama is happening that I was not expecting. Like, I just like this story, I don't know how to explain it. Like, the way that Frederick Bachman writes, the writing style is so calm. And so then when something very dramatic happens, it feels like it's like come out of left field, and you're like, wait, what did I just read? So something just happened, and I feel like now this is when the story is gonna pick up, because I feel like this book is in a weird way like almost like a historical fiction novel where like things take a second to pick up, and like you have to kind of like be placed and understand where your characters are at in life before you can like get into what's happening with each of them. But yeah, I wasn't expecting that. That was crazy. Now I'm gonna be here for the next like 12 hours because I can't, not 12 hours, you get my point. I need to know what's gonna happen next. Dune. We did the 25 pages. I'm gonna go back to Us Against You, but there was like all of this like helicopter noise and like craziness happening, and I was like, what is going on? Like, what's happening here? I just like didn't really think twice about it, I guess. And then my friend texted me out of nowhere, and I went to go check, and she was like, are you okay? And I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, the fire. And I was like, stop, what fire? Apparently there's a fire literally like so close to my house, but it did not get very big and no one was hurt, and there was no houses burned down. It was like strictly vegetation. There's no wind happening right now, so we could actually get helicopters out, which was like the whole reason why the fires in January were like so rough, because no helicopters could go in for help. But in this situation, it stayed at 1/4 of an acre, so it was actually like fairly small, but it was crazy because I could see the fire from my backyard. Anyway, Ryan and I were like, oh my god, are we gonna have to evacuate again? Like, what's happening? But I think we're just a little jaded from January, and like that is like a weird one-off. Like, you don't see fires that big usually, obviously. But yeah, so luckily they were able to get to it very quickly, and we've had a lot of rain recently, so I think that really helped too. So anyway, my mind was a little distracted while reading, and I was kind of like taking a lot longer to read than I normally would, but we did it. We read our pages, and I'm gonna go back to Us Against You, and we'll see how much we get into. I think I said I was at chapter 22, so we'll read as much as we can, and then when we're done, I will check in with you guys, and we'll just kind of go from there. It's already 8:30, so we're gonna take the rest of the night pretty easy. Okay, I officially made it 50% of the way through my book, and I think I'm gonna call it a night. I'm already getting kind of tired, and I think I'm like not realizing that it's nighttime, or like that it's the time that it is. Like, does that make sense? Like, I'm not realizing that it is the time that it is, mostly because of the time change. What a like wild, weird turn of events with the fire, but I'm so glad that it's out and that everything is okay. And I'm sad that I won't be able to conclude this with like finishing another book, but we did finish a couple of books in this video, so that was really fun. And I'm excited to continue reading, and obviously in like other vlogs and things, I will tell you guys more about both of these books and in my like reading wrap up and things like that too. So I feel like I've had had a very interesting reading year so far this year, where like sometimes I feel like I'm in a slump, and then other times I'm like reading really interesting, like crazy novels. And I don't know, just like I feel like I've been trying really hard to like step out of my comfort zone a little bit more this year and like try new authors, or just like things I maybe normally wouldn't read, or things that have been on my shelf for a lot longer. And it's been very enjoyable. And I've also started to, I did this at the beginning of last year too, but started to read more books at a time, which I still am like, sometimes it's a little hard, but other times it's like kind of enjoyable to like go between a few. I was reading, I think I mentioned it earlier too, I was reading Ministry of Time on like my audiobook. I think I'm gonna pause listening to it as an audiobook because I want to read it, and I think if I'm like reading physically 3 books at one time, I'm gonna just, it's like gonna be too much. So I'm gonna pause and I'm gonna come back to that one. But I am glad that I started it on the audiobook because I feel like I was very intimidated by like what the story was about, and now I can go into it knowing what I'm going into, I guess, if that makes sense. Like continue to read the book because now I've like gotten past that point of like being a little bit nervous to read it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So that was actually very enjoyable, and I'm glad that I did that today. Anyway, that was a long-winded way to end this video, but that is all I have for you guys for today. So thank you guys so much for being here with me and reading with me. I hope you guys are enjoying your reading month as well and getting to all of the books that you hoped you would get to. If there's anything that you would love to share that you're reading, let me know in the comments below. I always love to hear what you guys are reading and talk about all things books. Thank you guys again, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.